You know, right? I always try and go for like an interesting intro for every video. Like I always try and do something like funny or entertaining or unique. Like sometimes I'll just like imitate a famous YouTuber in a really sarcastic way, and I know some people really get off on that. So like, thank you for enjoying my odd sense of humor. And sometimes I'll just be like being really immature and childish, and then just cut back to my stoic voice immediately afterwards. That happens sometimes as well. Sometimes don't usually do it though, because that's a bit weird. Today I tried doing something really short. I was just like, hi, and then went straight into it. But it felt really insincere. You know, it felt really like, it felt really wrong. So I think I'm just going to do this instead, you know? So, yeah. Yeah. Today we have birch trees. Birch trees are pretty cool. I've given birch trees the same treatment that oak trees and dark oak trees got in the last update, in that they have this horrendously complex cross model with loads of little fluffy bits sticking out that has, I believe, over 300 variants given the multi-part model system. And I think it's really good. I think they look really nice. I think this model that I've developed for the leaves is really good. I still hate that we have this problem with like the shading. I have tried to fix this. People have recommended that I use ambient occlusion and shade false, and I have tried a combination of all those different things in order to get this to work correctly. But yeah, I never did it because it doesn't really work. Like sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe if I can be asked, I'll show like a side-by-side comparison of different combinations on the screen right now. I'm really sorry, me editing this in the future. That sounds like a nightmare to do, but it's worth it. Trust me, in the long run, people like visualizations. It's definitely worth it. But yeah, and in addition to that, I've also changed the birch log. This is one of my favorite things I've done recently. The birch log has a custom model which has a unique texture on all four sides, which is not something that I've really done before, but something that I want to do more of in the future. And the reason for this is because birch trees look really cool like this. I think that looks really awesome. Like you have all these different patterns on the different sides, and I think it looks really good. I've realized that in my sort of like style that I've developed, something that I'm going to start really enjoy doing in the future is whenever you have a texture on something which would be really small and really like something which is really tiny and thin, like for example the lines on an actual birch tree, right? So if you think about how wide these like lines of like browny crimsony gray are, they would usually be about 4 times smaller than this and 4 times more frequent, but you can't really do that really well in a 16-bit by 16-bit texture. So instead what we do is just scale it up massively. So we have these much larger lines, which are a lot more easily identifiable on a much smaller scale. So for example, we have more lines, but less of them. I think I'm going to start doing a lot more of that going forward because I think it looks really good and I really like it. For example, we have the comparison here of the vanilla birch log. You can see there that the lines are much smaller and a lot much fewer and further between. And we have these like other shaded lines in between to, I guess, imitate smaller versions of these that haven't really popped out yet, or however the hell it works. I think this looks better. I prefer this. I prefer this more like obvious, more defined, more over-the-top approach. I think it looks really good, and I think I'm going to start doing a lot more of this in the future. The dirt is another example of that as well. Basically, everything's just scaled up, and I think it looks really, really nice. So birch trees are kind of quote-unquote finished now. Obviously, in the last update with the oak trees and the dark oak trees, I only did the leaves. I didn't actually do the logs or the saplings at all. But we have actually now done the saplings for the birch tree as well. And again, this is an experimental thing, kind of. I do want you guys' feedback on this, if possible. In previous versions of Caelesti and also Skur as well, I made my saplings to look like smaller versions of the trees, which really is really dumb because that's not how saplings work. Saplings are generally these really small, almost indistinguishable like plants that will grow into, that big boy over there. So this kind of makes more sense. It's more of like a single stalk with a few little tiny leaves propping off the sides, and that's it really. I've not done growth stages because I'm not a huge fan of sapling growth stages because of how inconsistent they are in survival Minecraft, but I might come back to it and do those in the future because they do look pretty cool, and I know a lot of people do like them indeed. And yeah, this is just my way of saying as well that I have not actually yet done the birch wood. I hate the naming of these now. So that's a birch log, and that's birch wood. Why is that birch wood? That's like a 6-faced plank, no, not plank, log. I don't know. It has the side texture on all 6 faces. Basically, I'm not sure what to do with this one yet. The obvious approach and the vanilla approach would be to just have the top texture be the side texture, which I could just do in 5 minutes because it would just be the same as the side texture. But at the same time, I kind of want to make variants of a top texture which actually makes sense logically. But then if people use these in floors, for example, to do a floor like that, then it might end up looking really strange if I did some sort of logical texture, because the reason for this to exist is to be like an ending piece to these. So like if you have like that and then that, it's supposed to be like an end piece to like a column of wood, I guess, so that you have the same texture on all the sides. I don't really know. I'll probably just come back to it and just add the side texture, to be completely honest. So we'll come back to that one in the near future. We also have a new sound for the wood footstep, which is incredibly quiet. Can I turn that up a little bit? Master volume 100%, players 100%, yeah, and I can't turn it up. Great, but there you go, you get the idea. I think it's really nice. I think it's really, really nice. Hopefully that's a bit louder for you guys. If it's not, I'll add in the sounds to the video, but like volume boosted. I think they sound really nice. But yeah. We also have a new addition for blocks and gems. Obviously, I have remade the emerald texture countless times now, countless times, and I've remade the diamond texture, the diamond block texture quite a few times as well. I have gone back to very much minimalism with these, and I think it looks really nice. I've recently been refining my texture style even more so, and kind of learning more about how you do more defined shapes, especially in textures that are not natural, because I feel like I've gotten decent at making natural textures now, because it mostly is just a lot of variety, and my way of tackling random textures is just to have 8 variants of everything so that it looks natural and varied like it should do, and I think it works really well. But for things that are actually defined, like a solid block that should not have any variance in it, for example 9 emeralds jammed together or 9 diamonds jammed together, or speaking of like an emerald or a diamond themselves, it's actually much easier to make a texture for these, because you can just be really lazy, or I say lazy, I mean it's a lot more simple than I thought. I've been overthinking this quite a lot. So for example, to make defined shapes like this, all you have to do is just simply separate the texture into its individual components and then shade them all individually with almost block coloring like that, and I think the result is actually really good. And even if the result isn't really good, I like this style, so get used to it, bitches. So hell yeah. But yeah, I really like this emerald block. It's kind of become a meme that every single time I make a new emerald block, I'm like, hell yeah, I love this, and then I change it 3 weeks later. Yeah, I do like this one. I think it looks good. It's just another refinement of the same texture. Again, it's obviously just like the larger bezel on the outside, and then we have this shaded area to imply that it goes inwards a tiny bit, and then an extra shaded area to go that it implies it goes outwards again a little bit. So it's kind of an interesting texture shape. I'm not a huge fan of making a giant solid texture of only one color. I liked doing this because, of course, you have the individual components of like the brown strip and the white shading in between. I liked doing this because it's, again, lots of smaller segments that you can shade individually. I liked doing this because it's smaller segments that are shaded individually. I don't like doing textures that are like this, for example. I hate this. This is pain to me. I have no idea how to do this, to the point where I'm actually considering making all of the polished blocks bricks instead, because bricks would just be like a million times easier for me to texture, to be completely honest. But yeah, I really like this though. I think it looks good. Again, we've stuck very much to that style of just very basic, like bare shading, where each of the individual components has been highlighted and then shaded appropriately, and I think it looks pretty good, and I'm quite happy with it. So there you go. I've also tweaked the dirt top texture. Someone said before that it looked like cauliflower, and it now looks like mincemeat. So, you know, slight improvement there. We're getting slightly closer to something more nether-esque, I guess. I've also added grass path, which was a really easy one to do. Custom texture for the top side of grass path. I think it looks kind of nice. But the side texture is just the grass texture recolored, so that was really easy to do. We also have mycelium. Now, I must say, I'm not entirely happy with the mycelium. I think the top texture doesn't have enough contrast. So, for example, these two shades right here are just too close. So from a distance, they just kind of blend together a little bit. And I've already uploaded the profile to CurseForge. You can download it right now. You could download it yesterday, in fact. So, yeah, I don't want to change it like retroactively, but I can basically make a version 3.1 in the next couple of days, which I probably will end up doing because there are a few problems in this pack for sure. And I also want to remake the side texture entirely, or recolor it, or change the shading or something, because I just don't like it. Like I kind of like what I'm going for with it. It's what I envisioned. It's like, it's the right color. It's a very desaturated, dull, lavendery purple color, which is what I wanted. But the shading looks really dumb. To be fair though, it's a weird one because it took me ages. It took me ages to get used to the shading on the side of dirt. Like when I first made this, I hated it, but now I really like it. I think the shading looks good now. Like I've kind of gotten used to it, and it just looks right to me now. It almost looks like a gradient underneath the dirt, even though it's obviously not a gradient. But I think it looks good, but I can't get used to it on the mycelium, and the reason for that is because of the more complex shape of these little stringy bits coming down, I guess. So I'm going to change that. in the near update. So we'll probably have a version 3.1 very soon. Yeah, these are to indicate things that I want to change. By the way, you can see there's a little torch there for the log, and also a torch for the mycelium, and also a torch for the red mushrooms. And yeah, the brown mushrooms and red mushrooms from Caelesti have now been ported over to Caelesti Lite. I figured I did the mycelium, so I might as well port over the smaller versions of the mushrooms as well, given that we did the large mushrooms in the last update. Now, the brown mushrooms I'm really happy with. I think they look really good. I haven't changed the model for the brown mushrooms at all. It's the exact same model from Caelesti, although I have updated the texture. Again, the texture is more so fitting for my recent style, and I've recolored the stems of the mushrooms as well. And again, I think it looks pretty nice. We've still got the variant that has a little mushroom and a large mushroom in the same block model, as you can see there, which I think just adds to the whole variety of the situation. I think it looks really good. I really don't want these things to look as though they're in a grid, but it's hard to do. It's hard to get it right. Because as you can see here, if you look at that set of 16 mushrooms, you can see where the individual blocks are. You can see where, like, the grid of blocks is, right? I don't want that. I want these to look really varied, but it's hard to get it right, because unfortunately, if you have it just spread out too far to the side of the block, then you get this situation where the hitbox and the actual block model do not match up at all. I'm okay with this one because you can hit like the side of this, and obviously if you're aiming at it from most angles, you'll still be able to find the hitbox quite easily. But again, it's not ideal. I don't love it, but it's the best solution I can come up with for the time being, basically. And again, the reason why we have a red torch above these red mushrooms is because I've updated the mushroom model. These ones do have a little bit more variance now, so some of them stretch out a little bit further to the side than they did before. Again, trying to counteract the grid thing, even though the grid thing clearly is still a problem here, but never mind. But I realized that I've actually moved it too far, and now they look stupid on mushrooms. So as you can see there, this mushroom goes out way too far, as does this one. That one's fine, but yeah, that one's always fine. But it just goes out a little bit too far to the side, basically. So I think the way that the mushrooms work is they grab the first variant of the button mushroom model. Should I change these to button mushrooms? Red mushroom to button mushroom? I like that. I feel like button mushroom is a cute name for these things. I would die for the button mushrooms. But basically, I think, like, with these dudes, right, they use the first variant of the red mushroom. So I think what I can do is just have big variety on variant 2, 3, and 4, but for the initial first variant of these red mushrooms, we can just move it slightly further into the middle of its palette, or even just in the opposite direction, so that it's more in the middle of the cow. And yeah, that just about does it. As you can see here, the red mushroom cow is now a completely fucking different color to the red mushroom. The red mushroom is a different color to the red mushroom. I hate the naming convention of these things. But yeah, in fact, I haven't seen a brown mushroom. Let me try that. Summon. What are they called? Oh yeah, it's like mushroom but with brown in the thing, right? Is it like variant brown or type brown? No, I don't know. Should we just hit one with lightning? Hell yeah! Summon mushroom. Summon light. Oh, he's moved away. Come back. Summon. Hell yeah. I'll wait for him to stop freaking out before we look at him. But again, the brown mushrooms haven't been changed at all. Their model is still exactly the same. So, oh, look, it's the same issue. It's the same issue. It's the same issue. It's like overlapping. It's too far to the side. Oh, I didn't even realize that. Okay, well, in that case, I have an idea. I think what we'll do in the next update, right, is we're going to make a custom vanilla cow texture, and then we're also going to make a custom mushroom texture and a brown mushroom texture, and make sure that the models have been tweaked appropriately so that they don't have that issue where they're like overlapping the side of the cow, because that looks really dumb. We can't use any chem magic to fix this because we don't have Optifine for this pack, so I'll figure something out and we'll release that in update version 3.1. So you can expect 3.1 at some point in the next few weeks for sure. Hopefully in the next week if I can get off my ass, but you know, we're lazy, so we move. But yeah, we also have new textures for a bunch of items as well. I've given a new texture to the stick. I really like this kind of like pseudo gradient thing that I've got going on with the stick. I think it looks really good. I think it looks a lot more like natural, I guess. I don't know if natural is the right word. The stick in vanilla Minecraft has 2 shades for this middle section. And it's like darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker for the entire stick. And this one now has 3 shades where we have darkest, we have a mid-tone, and then we have a lighter tone for the top 3 pixels there. And I think it looks really good. I think it looks much better than the vanilla system. And again, it's just it's a more me way of doing it, and that's it really. I have a new texture for the feather, which I actually really like. I think it's much smaller. It looks more like a feather, in my opinion. I like the shape of this. I kind of just had an idea in my head of how a feather should be shaped in terms of pixel art, and then I just did it, and immediately afterwards I was like, hell yeah, that looks good. I like that. That's pretty cool. We also have a new texture for flint as well, and I've already had the conversation with the guys on the Discord that it's not really, it doesn't look like flint. It looks like a little piece of coal or something like that. It needs to be more shiny, so I'm thinking this lighter tone right here, literally these 5 pixels, if they were just brightened a crap load, then maybe it would look a lot more like flint. So I'm going to try and remake that at some point in the next few days. And again, that will be part of the 3.1 update for sure. We also have a new texture for arrows. They're a lot more chunky now. I've never been a big fan of the weirdly angled, like 45 degrees arrows with like the floppy arrowhead. I think it looks really strange. I don't know why that's the way it is in vanilla. It works for vanilla, but it doesn't work for me. So as you can see here, I've changed all my arrows to be more rigid looking. They actually use the stick texture as a base and then have the additional, now interestingly pointed arrowhead and like a properly shaded arrow fletching, basically. So I think it looks much better that way. We have the same style once again for the spectral arrow, where it has a black arrow shaft and then gold for the fletching and the arrowhead. I do really like the way that that one looks now. It's a shame that these things are so bloody useless in survival mode, but you know, you get them from piglins, so we can use them to kill ghasts occasionally. I think that's about all they're really used for, personally. But yeah, potion arrows are kind of the same. Again, it's very, very similar to the regular arrow, only the top arrowhead has been changed to be a little bit more saturated in terms of, I think it's like the pinks and the yellows. So whenever it gets tinted with the potion color effect, you can see there, I think it looks kind of decent. You can see the tinting mostly on the slow falling arrow, because I think the tinting for that is mostly just white. So as you can see, it's not white, it's like a bit coloured. So basically the tinted part of the arrow for the potion arrow is like a little bit more coloured. I'm planning on adding animations to this in the future. I saw a thing. I think it might even be in the Creeper's Code. I can't remember what it's in, actually. Is it the Creeper's Code, or is it another resource pack? I can't remember. But for basically, I recently saw like something from somewhere, I don't know where, but basically the idea of adding animated particle effects to the texture for the arrow of potion stuff. So I think that's really cool. I think that would be really, really awesome, because obviously in vanilla you have just like a few random pixels at the side, which I guess are supposed to look like it's moving through the air and dispersing a few particle effects on the way. I don't like that personally. I think it's dumb, because this arrow isn't moving through the air, it's static in the inventory. So to have particle effects coming off the arrowhead occasionally, I think that would look really, really cool. And of course we can tint those using that part of the texture as well. So these will be animated in the future for sure. Maybe in 3.1, maybe not. We will have to see. And finally, I wanted to say I have not done the bow texture yet, or the crossbow, but as you can see here, the arrow entities have been updated to use the same coloration of the arrow items. I think it looks really good. In fact, let me just fire this into the barrier so we can look at it properly. There you go. So that is our new arrow item model. I think it looks really cool. For some reason, you know what? It's a strange one, right? I've made quite a few arrow models at this point. Yeah, I've made quite a few. Let me get a spectral arrow as well. Can I fire a spectral arrow? There we go. I've made quite a few arrow models at this point. A lot of you will know in vanilla, the arrow model actually has a flat pane on the back, which means that if you're looking at it directly from the back like that, then you can see the arrow really obviously when it would otherwise be just a set of 2D panes, basically. Now, this barely ever happens to me. I would usually be able to see this just fine in vanilla. So I've removed that illogical, terrible for, aerodynamics pane from the back of the arrow, and I think it looks better that way. So there we go. And yes, moving on from that, we have a few more changes. I really like these changes. I did these very last minute, and I've fallen in love with them absolutely. But yeah, first of all, clear my throat. We have a new texture for the sea lantern, and a new model for the sea lantern, in fact, as well. So I had a new idea for the sea lantern. Initially, my inspiration for the sea lantern was actually the one that was designed by One Lots in his high definition pack. I saw this in the PCO, and I thought, that looks amazing. I saw it, and I wanted to just recreate it, because I thought it looked really cool, and I was wondering if I could do the slanted effect on the corners of the sea lantern in a 16-bit resolution. Obviously, I ditched that idea eventually, because I went for this now more square-looking texture, because, let me tell you, the slanted corners didn't look very good in 16-bit, as you can probably imagine. But yeah, I think this looks really good instead. So now we have, as a Excalibur Classic, different top texture and bottom texture for these dudes. In fact, I wanted to try something. I know that a lot of people do stuff like this. Let me see. What else would we do? Oh, I bet trapdoors look great on this thing. Let me. Oh, what do I do? What do I use? I guess that would probably work well, even though we need a redstone block on it. Let's see, redstone block. So I guess if you had like a sea lantern in the ceiling, haha, then you could have like, wait, Wait, how? No, wait, how would that work? Do these things not transfer redstone? Wait, do I need to do it there? What? How would I do this? Do they not transfer redstone? I guess it's because they're like a glowstone type thing, right? Wait, so would that even work? No, it doesn't even work. Oh, never mind. Okay. I guess you can't do that. Wait, can we just put like a block above it and then do that? Nope. There we go. Okay, well, you can kind of do it. We'd have to do it on all sides, but never mind. So yeah, I think that would actually look really cool, because now there's like a larger gap inside the lantern. Maybe that looks cool. I don't really know. Never mind. Well, you know, Scal learns redstone. Hell yeah, look at me go. I used to really like redstone back in the day. It was like one of my favorite things to do in Minecraft, but I'm not really into it anymore. I'm more of like a modded chum now. That was a complete sidetrack. I apologize, as usual. Never mind. Moving on, we have the dark prismarine texture. Dark prismarine was one of the first things I added to Caelesti Lite, because I just ported it over directly from Caelesti, and that was that. As I discussed before, with the changes to the emerald block and the diamond block, I'm now trying to switch to this style of very, very basic shading for each component of a texture. So if you look at this texture, you can see the individual tiles of the texture are like these 4x4 cubes that are inside the texture walls, just like that. If I get a cube on the side, you can see that those same tiles seem to line up on the edges as though it's made up of loads of little tiny mini blocks, basically. And I like that effect. I think it looks really cool. But yeah, as you can see, these things have now been shaded in a very, very simple way. So we have the bottom side, where the light source is like, say the light source is coming from the top left, basically. So on the bottom side, there's a slight shadow. On the top side, there's a slight glare. And in the middle and on the edges in between those spaces, we have the neutral texture in the middle, basically. And that's it. It's that simple. It is so basic. Unfortunately, using 3 colors for an entire texture generally looks a bit shit, so I decided to add a few variants. So we have like blues and dark grays as well. And then I realized that this would look even better with a crap load of variants. So even though I usually use only 8 variants, we have 16 variants for dark prismarine, and I think it looks really, really cool. In fact, I designed a thing yesterday. Let me go find it. It should be over here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Look at this, right? Look at this. I think this looks awesome. So it's like a pool. It's like a pool, and it has all these different variant tiles everywhere, and then the sea lanterns in the corner. I think it looks awesome. I think it looks really, really cool. I'm really happy with how that turned out. It was literally just like a spur-of-the-moment, last-minute thing to do, because I designed a new sea lantern model, and then I was like, hell, why don't I make the sea lantern and the dark prismarine use the same palette, because then they can be like combined together. And then I did this, and then it was like variants, and then I love it. I think it looks really cool. So that's about it, really. We have new variants for dark prismarine and a new texture style, which I think looks really good. We also obviously have the custom top texture for the sea lantern, so you can use it in flooring, as you can see there. I'm not going to lie, that would look great with CTM. Would that even work, though? Because these are like 5x5 tiles. No, it wouldn't work, would it? Because that's like a 6x6 area in between. Ah, damn it. Maybe I'll come up with something for that. I don't know. Maybe I'll just change it entirely. But yeah, you can use sea lantern tops for different flooring patterns now as well, so that's a cool thing. Yeah, obviously I have a redstone torch here because I'm not entirely happy with the top texture. It's very basic, very simple right now. Again, I'm trying to develop this kind of new way of doing things with the more basic shading, but in some places it does definitely fail. So I'm going to try and remake this top texture for sure, because it does not match the chaoticness of the side texture or the internal texture, as you can see there, which is supposed to be looking as though, you know, there's light coming from the sea lantern. I guess. But I like it. I think we're onto a winner here, so I'm going to stick with this idea for now. I like the fact that we have this indented model around the edges. I think it looks really cool. In fact, weirdly enough, I don't have them in the pack right now, but I just realized this looks a lot like my lantern model from Caelesti. Like, you know where you have the bars at the edge and then the indented middle section? It looks almost identical to how that's styled. That's amazing. Look at that. I have a consistent thing going here. Hell yeah, look at me go. I also updated the Quartz Tiles texture to use the same pattern as the dark prismarine, but it doesn't really work. I made a really light shade of like grey here, which is almost white, but it's not bright enough clearly, so it just looks like a bunch of backwards L shapes, basically. In fact, can I get backwards L shapes? Yeah, look at that, backward L shapes. L, that's... Yeah. Isn't L like a meme thing? Like, give the L? Or wasn't that like a Fortnite thing? Oh god, I hate that I remember that. Finally, we have a conversion sound, which is kind of cool. So, zombie, villager. Oh my god. There you go. I thought he'd never fucking die. Yeah. Yeah, so the zombie villager conversion sound is now more interesting, in my opinion. It makes more sense. So in vanilla, the zombie conversion sound is like a birding sound, and it's listed as infect on the you know, on the sound files directory. Which kind of makes sense. I guess the idea is that the zombie's not actually killing the villager. He's infecting him with, like, the zombie plague or whatever the hell it is. But I personally don't really like that style. I think that it's a bit dumb. Like, I only recently discovered this, really, in vanilla, because I don't really play vanilla enough, right? I don't play it enough. So I'm sorry for that. I really am. But I recently heard a villager die in survival mode to a zombie, and I was like, what? Why doesn't it play the death sound? Because he's dying, right? Right? And then you're, like, reviving him by giving him golden apples and weakness potions? I don't really know. So basically, I just changed it so that now, when the zombie gets converted to a zombie villager, he actually dies. So the sound is a combination of the villager death sound and the zombie villager say sound, and I think it sounds really good. So there you go. It's kind of cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I didn't. I'm probably going to release a new update really soon with a bunch of changes, as you can see from all my little redstone torches that have been dotted around the place. I am currently working on a few other projects as well. Obviously, Artibus is still in development currently. I'm going to be releasing version 0.4 of that really soon. I've got some really cool ideas for custom advancements that I want to incorporate, which you guys will hopefully really enjoy. And I also have a few big ideas lined up for Caelesti and Caelesti Lite as well. But I am going to be taking a break from all of this at some point really soon, because I am starting to struggle a little bit with the workload IRL. I kind of realized recently that I was overworking myself and I was getting burnt out in many areas. So I'm going to try and be chill and take a break. You know, I don't get paid for this shit, so I'm going to just do it when it works for me. Hell yeah. So, yeah. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I actually did, even though I said I didn't before. I don't know why I said I didn't. I did anyway. Yeah. Download Caelesti Lite version 0.3. In the meantime, if you are a fan of Caelesti and not Caelesti Lite, because I can understand why you would prefer the features in Caelesti to Caelesti Lite. I personally only play with Caelesti Lite at the moment because it's the pack that I'm actually like working on. But if you do actually prefer the features in Caelesti as opposed to Caelesti Lite, but you want things like the new dark prismarine and the new mushrooms and the new dirt texture, I still love this dirt texture so much. Then you can actually just use both at the same time. So I would recommend using Caelesti underneath Caelesti Lite, just like that. And you'll basically get 99% of the features from Caelesti Lite, as well as the fancy-ass Optifine stuff from Caelesti. So yeah, just a little bit of advice there on how best to use my pack if you do want to use the main thing and the new light version that I am currently developing. So yes, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to join the Discord and join the discussion. The link to the Discord group is always in the description below. If you did make it to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you for the next one. Take care, have a very nice day, and yeah, adios, bye, ciao, tschüss, auf Wiedersehen. Does auf Wiedersehen mean bye? I have no idea. Anyway, goodbye.